Well, welcome to another episode of Morning Mojo with me, your host, Shane Solomon. Delighted to have on the sofa today in the studio, Louise McGuill.
Yes,
Is
McGuill,
that right?
yeah.
McGuill?
You did it well, thank you.
I've not met a McGuill before.
No, there's not many of us. No.
So where does that come from, McGuill?
I think it's Irish.
I was going to have a guess at that.
I spent years thinking it was Scottish, but then was corrected by my family. Yeah, I think it is Irish, but yeah, not many of us.
I'm super delighted that you can join us. Now, we have a wonderful following on Morning Mojo, and you're here today. Just tell me, basically, your kind of routine to set you off for a good day. I like to start, when you wake up in the morning, what's your kind of routine? Do you have a routine?
Now, is this ideal world or my reality?
Your reality, please.
Okay, my reality is my 20-month-old wakes me up at about 5:30 after waking up at 3 a.m. probably as well. And then my 6-year-old comes running in and I'm forced awake and downstairs. Now, that instantly makes me wide awake, to be fair, because they're just, a joy. Although we know how hard work they are as well. But in real world, I then need a decaf coffee, ideally with oat milk, and a bit of fresh air, to be fair. A bit of fresh air, whether that's just the school run and forcing myself to walk the children to school rather than drive, or just to step out the back door. That sets me up.
Okay.
That sets me up.
Okay. Now, today, I really want to get straight into the content by talking about maximizing sales through email. Now, that's what you do, right? So through using the power of copy.
Yes.
So what kind of hints and tricks could you give us for that?
Sure. Well, it comes way before the copy of the email, really, the hints and tips for utilizing it. It's getting really, really deep in your business, really looking at that, your business plan, looking at the ideal client persona or audience, whatever you want to call it, really, really digging deep in that first, because it's all about your messaging and making sure that your messaging is right for your audience that you want, the clients that you want to attract and want to have sales. So once you've decided to have email, you then need to have a look at really, what are your goals? What are your goals in sending email? Is it because someone's told you need to send emails? If so, relook at it, because that is not a good enough reason to send them. You should be sending them, I'm going to say, but you have to really think about it. So part of the service that I offer is really a lot on strategy and a lot on planning, so that you can get those foundations right, because without those foundations, you're not probably going to get the sales that you're hoping for from, or the leads from your emails. Say all of that is in place, then my hints and tips for the emails themselves is that's okay. Subject lines. Subject lines, obviously everyone talks about subject lines and the importance of subject lines. Controversially, I'm going to say they're probably not as important as people think if you've got the foundations right. Because if you think about it, if you signed up to something and you've signed up to subscribe, you get that welcome email, hopefully a welcome sequence, you're going to open that email. You're going to open the next one because you've literally just subscribed to it. So have you even looked at that subject line? Probably not. If it's a colder email that you're sending, yes, subject line is way more important. And as you go through a sequence and further away from signing up, subject lines become more and more important. But the content is what's going to keep a subscriber on your list. The content is what is going to build the trust and loyalty. The content is what's going to lead to a sale, ultimately. So tips about the content, it's definitely not about you. It's not about your news that you want to give. So that old term of a newsletter, it's about reflipping your thinking as to actually, what does that person want? What can I offer that person? What value can I give to those people? How can I build trust and loyalty in me through communicating via email?
So what I want to know, though, in your career, what is the best email subject line that you've ever received?
So it's an interesting one. It said, well, that was no fun at all. And that was it. And that instantly made me want to click because what that's done, it's really, really clever. It's simple, it's short, so it ticks those boxes straight away. And it instantly made me think, what was? I want to know. And as humans, we are curious, nosy, some may say. So no matter who you are, I think that would have got a lot of opens from that sender. And it certainly got an open from me. And it wasn't clickbait. It wasn't, because that is not okay. It linked to what it was about. And it wasn't any fun.
Sure.
And it was interesting to read. It led through a point and a purpose, and it came to a clear call to action. So that was a really standout one for me.
Okay. Well, now this podcast is designed to motivate and inspire. What's the most, who inspires you most? Where have you got your inspirations from?
I don't know if this is cliche or not, but it's definitely my children. My children inspire me in so many different ways. But one of the key ways they do is I've kind of used them I need to be more toddler. I definitely need to be more toddler in business and in life in general, because a toddler does not care.
Yes, I like that. Yeah.
They don't. They're seeing things for the first time. Everything is brand new. Everything's amazing. If you spend just an hour trying to see things through a toddler's eye, your day is boosted massively. And if you look at that for business as well, you ask questions constantly as a toddler. So in business, what do we get if we ask questions? We get more knowledge, we get more connection, we get more people that we can collaborate with. So even just that tug, question, they are the ones that inspire me. Absolutely.
I get that, because again, something happens, I think, from when we're toddlers and you're growing up, that before that point into where we are now, something happens where we kind of lose a bit of confidence, where conditioning, I think, kicks in within society, maybe our parents, whatever, not in a bad way, but, kind of tell you can't do things, you can't do that, don't touch that, it's hot, don't do that, it's cold, don't do that, and protecting us, but by default, then you start questioning whether you can do things, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then you end up doing that journey where we're on personal development, things like that, to kind of, actually we can do these things.
Absolutely.
So
I think it's just that daily reminder of it should be fun. It should be fun. You should be inquiring, and seeing things and absorbing everything around you.
So how do you keep motivated? So again, this podcast is about motivation.
Yeah.
And what do you, Louise, do to keep motivated?
Well, it's doing something that I genuinely really, really enjoy doing. And I think you're incredibly lucky if you are doing that as your job. My motivation is I just love helping people. I love helping people get to that feeling of success, whatever success is to them. If I've had a helping hand in that, in whatever way, that motivates me to do my job, to do what I've chosen to do as a job. Other people motivate me constantly when I'm in awe of some of the things that people do in the timescale that they've got, with the commitments that they have. I think you can draw inspiration and motivation from a lot of different areas. And don't get me wrong, there are days where it's hard. We all have those days where it's really, really hard, lack of sleep, deadline looming, feel like you've got no time in the day. It's just realign yourself, look at your why, look at why you're doing it. And that often puts me back on track and I can steam through.
You lead me on to a nice question there. And one I ask in most of these podcasts is, what do you do when things aren't working, when things aren't going your way and you're faced with a challenge in your day?
Yeah, I have to step away from it, because I spent a lot of time where I just have to grapple with it and keep going. And that just got me to a brick wall. So I've had to learn over the years just to take that step back, go on that bike ride, go on that walk, get out in the fresh air, green and blue for me, sea or forest. They're the places where I can just realign, recenter, have a laugh, have a chat, go back. And 9 times out of 10, you go back with those fresh eyes and fresh energy, and you can hit the ground running with it.
So true. And sometimes for me, it just needs to be the end of the day, and I'll get to the end of the day and just knowing that after I go to sleep, tomorrow's a new day as well, and you mentioned about going outside. I want to bring this into this conversation again, mentioned on one of the podcasts, and that is something I've been researching about. And that's grounding. Have you heard of grounding?
I've heard of it. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I'm yet to do it myself because the weather's still a bit dodgy out there. But free of charge. You can go out and literally go barefoot on the ground, on the earth, and it neutralizes all the energy and the electrons in our bodies
Yeah.
to make us feel better. And people talk about, helping things with inflammation and bits and bobs like that kind of, neutralizes your body in a way
Yeah.
that really makes you feel good. And they've got all this thing out there now about buying grounding sheets, because we spend like 7 or 8 hours in bed. They say you have these sheets, they put it on your bed, and you plug it into the earth part of the socket, not the electrical part, which grounds us. And scientifically, it's proven that if you have all these meters put on you, that it does bring the energy, the
Yeah,
electricity
apparently.
down.
Yeah, a friend of mine actually had one of those because she was having some health issues and she used one and just raved about it.
Yeah, yeah.
But with the bare feet thing, so I've always taken my daughters to forest school and we walk bare feet in the forest. At first it was a bit like, what is this? Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like with people doing the cold water swimming. I don't know, just back to nature. It's weird to describe, but you do just feel connected.
Yeah. And again, my upbringing certainly wasn't within a hippie family, but if you told me this when I was like 15 years old, I said, "What? I'm no hippie. I'm not going to go out there walking around barefoot. I want my nice, Nike
Yeah.
shoes on. I don't want to be walking barefoot."
Yeah.
But as you get older, listen to me. If you're younger, listen to this. You do realize that these people are talking sense, and you think, I
Yeah.
need to do that.
It's great. And it's that thing about being open to it, isn't it? I think, like you say, when you do get a bit older or wiser through the years, I like to say, you're more open to, okay, I'll give it a go.
Yeah,
give it a go.
So, what is your best life lesson that you've learned so far on your journey on planet Earth?
Yeah, it's been quite a big one. I think I'm still partly learning it, but it's that there's no such thing as perfect. There is no such thing as perfect. And as a perfectionist, that's quite a hard lesson to take on board. But definitely of recent, I've really started to listen to myself on that one. There really isn't such thing as perfect. And if you keep trying to be perfect at each particular thing, it's only going to create frustration and you're not going to keep moving forwards. So give yourself a break. That is okay for now, is kind of the reframe. That is okay for now. That's as perfect as I can get that at the moment. Doesn't mean I'm not going to revisit it in the future, but what that does, it allows you to move on to the next thing that you want to tackle, rather than just keep going and going and going and getting frustrated because it's not quite exactly like you want it to be.
Great advice. I like that. Now, for those people listening into the podcast this morning, or indeed watching it on YouTube, and they're looking for a kind of nugget to take forward today that could help their business, what would you kind of give them today as something they could do today that could help them on their journey of being successful in business?
That's a really good question because there's so many things. So
Yeah.
one thing I think I would say would be to communicate with someone today, whether that's via email, via social media, in person, but reach out to someone and ask them questions. Ask them questions, find out about them, because what that will do is, as humans, we can't help reciprocate. So if you reach out and ask, they are 9 times out of 10 going to reciprocate and ask about you. And before you know it, you've started a brand new network of connection.
That's so true, because I get invited to a lot of hospitality events by being in business here in Cornwall and now even in London. And as soon as someone invites me along to these things, straight away I'm like, what can I do for you? You've invited me along. You've treated me to a lovely lunch. Can I invite you back to the studio and do a podcast or something? Because you're right.
Yeah.
We do like to reciprocate.
We do, yeah. And that works really well. So obviously that comes through in copy with copywriting as well. So if you're communicating, if you're messaging, etc., that's why we always harp on about offer value. By offering value, your clients, your ideal audience, they feel like you've given them something, which you have. You've given them something, and already subconsciously they are investing. They're invested in what you're doing. They're invested in you because of that reciprocation.
It's in giving that we receive. Not that, this is the thing. Even with this podcast, I love to do it because I love hearing people's stories.
Yeah.
But by default, what will happen And it might not happen straight away, but somewhere along the line, I'll get a call from one of the guests that will say, do you know what, Shane? We were somewhere today and someone really needs, your studio set up and things like that.
Yeah.
But you just plant those seeds, reap what you sow, right? And I do say it over and over and over again in this podcast, but it is doing a good deed.
It is. It is. And it has to come from that genuine place.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. But, I get something out of it by having you here. I listen to you and I'm certainly picking up on your kind of passions and your whys and why you do things. And then hopefully by you coming in here, you've then been made aware of Coldrinnick, where we are.
Yeah.
What do you think of the setting here at the studio?
Oh, stunning. And we're lucky it's a blue sky day. It's stunning. Yeah.
You're certainly seeing it at its best. Now, do you have a favorite quote at all that you've heard either a famous person say, someone that you've met say to you that resonates with you at all?
Yeah, it's a little bit out there, but because it's from my gran.
Okay, brilliant.
And I expect everyone has heard of it, but we've got to remember, if you don't ask, you don't get. She always used to say, and still does, if you don't ask, you don't get. And I have to remind myself of that one, because when you're in new situations, it's nerve-wracking. If it's someone you've not spoken to before, if you think, am I being a bit cheeky asking that? No, you don't ask, you don't get. They can only say no, but they could always say yes.
Do you know what? That's something that I've only recently learned at the age of 42 whilst recording this podcast, that I don't ask enough.
Yeah.
Only because I feel bad. I feel bad for asking. And that, it might be a no, but don't be afraid of the no. And like you said, that's it's such a simple one.
It is,
But your gran was right there.
Absolutely.
You've got to ask. Otherwise, how are people going to know? They're not mind readers.
No.
Well, not naturally anyway.
People do ask. So be one of those people who ask. And just something you said there, a little reframe, because I used to always think, but they're probably going to say no, or, something like that. Now I've had this total just mindset change. And I always say, what's the best that could happen? So in any situation that you're feeling a bit nervous about, or it's new, or you're just unsure, like this podcast, for example, when I was asked to come on here, previously I probably would have shied away and gone, don't know, I wouldn't. But I thought, what's the best that could happen? Yeah. Literally, what is the best thing that could happen? And then it totally changes your outset.
Do you know what? Yeah. This is great advice. I've not heard that one on all the episodes we've filmed so far. Yeah. Well, look, I knew this would happen, that the time always whizzes right by the 20-minute mark. Is there anything you would like to add to the podcast? Any kind of value that the listeners can get from your experience within your industry or life at all that I've not prompted you for? Anything you'd like to add to this?
I'm going to say this, but if you haven't got emails and you want to talk to me about emails or how I can help you in any way, just reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, Louise McGuill. That's McGuill. And send me a message, ask me that question, and let me know that you've heard me on this podcast.
Absolutely. So that was my closing thing, was to say, give your business a bit of a plug, but you've kind of done that.
Yeah.
What's your best form of communication? LinkedIn, text, email?
Email, yeah. LinkedIn or email. So LinkedIn, like I said, Louise McGuill, and my email's louise@louisemcopy.com.
Nice. Well, Louise, it's been an absolute pleasure to welcome you into our wonderful studio here. I hope you felt at ease and
absolutely.
and
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. Well, don't be a stranger. If you're ever driving past the studios, just drive on by. No, I'm joking. Please pop in. We've got wonderful facilities in the green room, and friends are always welcome to pop by any time.
Yeah.
So
brilliant.
Well, there you go. That is another episode. The 20 minutes always go so fast, but we've got to stick to them, because otherwise we'll be eating into too much of your day listening and watching. But thank you so much, as always, to the producers of the podcast. And that, of course, is Megan and Jay, mixing it today at the helm of the gallery. And as always, I like to say, share it, like it, love it, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And until next time, have the most amazing remainder of your day. Thank you very much indeed, Louise.
Thank you.